It's time to take a first look at Final Fantasy X Magic the Gathering, which releases on June 13th, so this is obviously quite a while away. However, this is not a spoiler season, quote unquote. What it is the early release previews they do for like vendors and distributors so that they have a loose idea of kind of what's coming out in the product and can determine their placement orders and all of that. So there's not a ton of cards to look at, but there is a good amount of information and some really cool previews to see, and that's kind of what we're going to do in this video. So if you guys do enjoy the video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Click the bell icon if you want to be notified when new videos are posted. And yeah, let's get into it. So yes, a first look at Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy, and it features the largest collection of Final Fantasy artwork ever in a single game, which is kind of cool. And it pulls from all of the different games, and I believe many artists who actually worked on the Final Fantasy games are actually going to be involved with this product as well, which is really cool. So first up, we've got to look at sort of just the default treatments and regular, basic cards. This is kind of what they look like. We're going to go through the cards themselves in a minute here, so I'm not going to go into them too much just yet. This is over 100 legendary creature cards across the entire release. 55 of them will have borderless cards, which is kind of cool. Based on everything we can see here, it looks like this will be included in all of the products, so there's nothing exclusive for those treatments, not that I would expect there to be. The Magic the Gathering Final Fantasy set details, so we've got the regular FIC, which is the Commander expansion, and then the regular set, and then the FCA, which is a bonus sheet similar to Breaking News and Outlaws, Mythical Archives, and Strixhaven, etc. So it's a bonus sheet that will be included in the main set and also in collector boosters. So just it's called Through the Ages, and the previews are pretty cool, so we'll see those as we get there. Kind of explains the way these play boosters will work. Play boosters will contain cards from either the Through the Ages set and the regular Final Fantasy set as well. Now, scrolling down a little bit, this is the product offering. I'd just like to touch on this quickly. The play booster, we have a collector booster, we have the decks, which I talked about yesterday, the face commanders for the decks in a separate video, which I'll link down below if you guys want to check that one out. There are also collector's editions of the decks, which is kind of cool. Not personally my thing. I think the fact that they're all surge foiling is kind of, it doesn't do enough to make me want to spend double the price, but that's just one person's opinion. We've got a bundle, as usual, and a gift bundle with some really cool artwork. The gift bundle will have a collector booster in it as well. We've got a starter kit, which does include some exclusive new cards, and then we've got the pre-release. So this is what we're looking at in terms of the product lineup and offering. And then for some exclusive types and stuff, we've got Saga creatures, which I kind of like. It's not the first time they've done this where a creature is a Saga, but I do believe it's the first time where it's a Saga without having to flip over. So this is kind of playing on the summon mechanic, and it is really cool just from that design perspective. Because it is a Saga and it is a creature, it won't come out, it'll have, unless it has haste on someone, down the road when they reveal more, it'll only be able to attack once, but they will do different effects. Just a really cool way to play on that summon mechanic, I think. Some double face cards make a return. Not crazy, maybe get these in a lot of sets, but, just sort of worth noting. There's, the different variations of those across all the boosters. There will be new mechanics in May that'll be coming, so we'll have a full kind of breakdown later on for that. The booster fun treatments here, like this is a really cool showcase style of this, and this will again be available in all booster types. There will be borderless character cards that are actually cool, and it looks like has the number of the game it's from actually in the background, which is really neat. And you can these are double-faced cards as well. We've got borderless woodblock cards, which I don't know entirely what that means, but I'm guessing it's based on the art style. This card looks adorable, and this, for my Digimon fans out there, definitely Togemon vibes here. That's the first thing I thought when I saw this. I'm not too familiar, though, with Final Fantasy, like I said, so I don't know, what these are necessarily, other than just saying this artwork is really cool. But this woodblock style is in everything. They do mention the borderless Final Fantasy artist cards. Several fan favorite artists have contributed to the Final Fantasy series over the years. Now they've lent their talents to this Magic set on borderless Final Fantasy artist cards. These feature cards from the main set with glorious artwork bringing your favorite characters to life. We don't have anything for them yet. I guess they'll probably come later. I have to say that I expect these will likely be the ones that are locked behind collector boosters. I could be wrong, but that's just my speculation, because there will be something. And then we've got Final Fantasy Through the Ages. So this is the subset. First of all, we're getting a reprint of Ancient Copper Dragon here, which is actually insane, as well as Yuriko, which is nowhere near as expensive, but still, they're renames or retitles, what have you. And they do have existing artwork from the Final Fantasy games or series, so artists' artwork these have kind of already been drawn that have been modified to fit cards. They look really cool, and if we're starting off with Ancient Copper Dragon as one of the big reveals that you can pull from that bonus sheet, I definitely feel pretty optimistic about it. Just pretty cool there in general. And then we do know that, excuse me, there will be 3 secret lair drops that'll be coming out alongside this set. So a lot more of this information will be available and expanded upon as we get closer to the release, but I just wanted to give everybody a brief overview of kind of how collecting the set is going to work. I do think it's going to be a very, very popular product. I'm not even necessarily a Final Fantasy fan, but I'm very excited to kind of play with this set and see, and maybe learn a little bit more too. Maybe it'll spike the interest in a reverse way for me. But that's the set. Let's take a look at a few of the cards that were previewed, because I think some of them are actually really good. We've got Steelskin Moogle Merchant. It is a 1-drop legendary creature Moogle with lifelink. You can pay 2 and tap it to give target opponent control of another target permanent you control. If they do, you draw a card. So I know a few other cards like this exist. I'm not sure how many exist that cost as little as this one does. But it's really funny to think of some of the interactions if you have some permanents that actually lead to like negative or adverse effects for you, and you can give it to the opponent. And, you know, maybe I'm just thinking off the top of my head, like an enchantment that says like skip your draw step or something, or you can't draw cards. You give that to the opponent, and then they have to kind of deal with that or figure a way to get that off the field. Group hug decks will probably really like something like this, especially if there's cards that can like benefit from your opponent having them. Just a cool card in general. The artwork is adorable, and this is what the regular one looks like. Not a bad card. I think people are probably going to find plenty of ways to utilize this, because it is just a silly card, and it does have some really, I think, fun potential. Now, the summon, I showed you a little bit. This is a Saga creature. This one is 3 and 2 blue. It is summon Shiva, and it has Heavenly Strike, so its first 2 lore counters will be tap target creature and opponent controls, put a stun counter on it. The third one, draw a card for each tapped creature your opponent controls. That could be pretty strong. Now, this will obviously die when it gets its third counter, because that's how these sagas work. When they get the third lore counter, you sacrifice them. But it'll still have a chance to attack at least once, and if you give it haste or something, it'll be able to do it multiple times. I do think this concept as a whole has a lot of potential. I'm really excited to see some of the other summons, because if there are some that can, you know, make use of being a creature while also having some powerful effects, I just think that's going to be a lot of fun to try and build around. Now, Cecil Dark Knight is a 1-drop black legendary creature, human knight with death touch. When it deals damage, you lose that much life. Then if your life total is less than or equal to half your starting life total, untap Cecil and transform it. It transforms into Cecil Redeemed Paladin with lifelink, of course, and when it attacks, other attacking creatures gain indestructible until end of turn. So obviously, you know, any damage you deal to your opponent, you're dealing to yourself as well, but you kind of want to get your life to a point where you can tap this over, and then you're able to give your creatures indestructible, and it does have lifelink, so you can start to gain back some of the life you lost. I think it's a really neat transformation concept, at least. I don't know, you know, you probably got to find some ways to maybe build this up. Obviously, just being a 1-drop 2/3 with Death Touch is going to be worth consideration in some decks regardless, especially if you're playing, you know, some Knight-specific deck, because that's just a pretty powerful effect to have access to. But there might also be some cards where, like, if you lose life, you know, certain things trigger, where you can kind of work this to your benefit even more. I like it a lot. I think as it will be a standard legal card, this is definitely going to be a card that will have an impact in that format. And yeah, it's cool. I, again, don't know too much about the actual, you know, thing itself, but this is what the alternate art looks like. I think these are really well done, with the backgrounds kind of showing the game they're from. And yeah, the artwork is just pretty cool in general. So that's the concept there. Whether or not we get more that transform upon doing certain things remains to be seen, but I'd say there's a pretty good chance. We've got Tonberry. It's a 1-drop black creature, Salamander Horror. It enters tapped with a stun counter on it. Then it has Chef's Knife. During your turn, has First Strike and Death Touch. Entering tapped with a stun counter is a little problematic. However, the benefits certainly make up for it. First Strike and Death Touch more or less guarantees that it gets through and kills something, unless that thing also has First Strike or Double Strike. Seems like a really strong draft card, even if it is slow for a turn, because it is going to be pretty challenging to get over. And you'll be able to put some pressure on there. So it's pretty cool. I like it. Now, we've talked a little bit about this. Ancient Copper Dragon getting a reprint here. A very, very expensive card for, you know, all intents and purposes. We'll say about $75 at the cheapest for all its other variants. Now, this is going to be on a bonus sheet. It's going to have Final Fantasy art. If I'm being honest, I don't think it's going to drop the value at all. If anything, I think this card will be more expensive than all the other ones, just because that's kind of the way it goes with these. It's a really, really awesome looking design. And again, even as someone who doesn't have much Final Fantasy experience, this gives me, you know, the high fantasy vibes. It's just really cool across the board. We definitely needed a reprint of this card. I just, you know, this obviously is going to do I think very little. I could be wrong. I mean, I'll openly admit if I'm wrong, but I don't expect this to drop anything pretty significantly. Yeah. Just an amazing artwork here. Fantastic reprint. And it does go with Yuriko, which is another one from that same set. Just, you know, I don't personally love the artwork here, although you can obviously see the direct from the game. It's just that solid color background doesn't do much for me personally, but people may like it. And obviously this is a really powerful card, especially in CEDH, but just in Commander in general. And thankfully neither this nor Copper Dragon are going to be legal in Standard, so you don't have to worry too much about that. These are, again, on the bonus sheet. We've got Emotes Unsundered. This is a 1 blue-black legendary creature, Elder Wizard, with Vigilance. Whenever it enters or attacks, draw a card, then discard a card. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 14 or more cards in your graveyard, you may transform it. And it transforms into Hades, Sorcerer of Eld. It is a legendary creature avatar with Vigilance. During your turn, you may play cards from your graveyard. If a card or a token be put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. And it is a 6/6, which of course, because it's Hades. I think this is a really strong card, actually. Obviously, you need to mill a lot or get a lot of things engraved, but the blue-black color combination is definitely going to be the easiest way to do that. So I think it's a pretty damn good card. It will likely be a popular commander option because it's not too hard to build around, and having full access to your graveyard to play stuff during your turn is a very, very powerful effect. This, just in case anyone wants to see it, is the alternate treatment as well. I think it looks kind of cool. I don't like it as much as the Cecil, but it's neat, and everyone's going to obviously have different preferences there with their art. We've got Jumbo Cactuar. I don't think that's how you pronounce it. It is a 5 and 2 green creature plant with 10,000 needles. Whenever this creature attacks, it gets plus 9,999 plus 0 until end of turn. This is a real card, and it is very, very silly. It's kind of hard to bring out, I think, obviously, because it does cost 7, but it's not like green doesn't have ways to manipulate costs. And yeah, I mean, it's obviously something that can die pretty easily to removal, which is good. It doesn't have any built-in protection, but if this thing somehow gets trampled and you swing with it, that's pretty much game over. And you can bet people are going to find ways to make this as rampant and speedy as possible. So I like the card. I think it's cool. I definitely think it feels pretty strong, but it may just be sort of an initial reaction to reading it. What do you guys think of Jumbo Cactuar? Let me know in the comments down below. And a couple of other cards. Garland, Knight of Cornelia. It is a black-red legendary creature, human knight. Whenever you cast a non-creature, surveil 1, and then you can play 3, 2 black and 2 red to return it from your graveyard to the battlefield transformed. Activate only as a sorcery. And it comes back as Chaos the Endless. It is a flying, and when it dies, you put it on the bottom of its owner's library. Decent card. That's a lot of mana to spend to bring something back transformed, even if it is just a 5/5 flying. I don't think it's all that great, to be honest with you, but it's kind of a cool design. Unless I'm missing something, but again, 7 mana to bring back a 5/5 with flying does feel kind of not great. I guess there is the benefit of it coming from the graveyard, like I said, so maybe there's something that's not standing out to me, but overall I think it's pretty middle of the road. And lastly, we've got Sin Spira's Punishment. It is a 4 black-green-blue legendary creature, Leviathan avatar with flying. Whenever it enters or attacks, exile a permanent card from your graveyard at random, then create a tap token that's a copy of that card. If the exile card is a land card, repeat this process. This card is crazy, at least on the surface. It seems super fun. There is the randomness element of it that obviously does, limit your ability to do specific combos, quote unquote. However, if you play a land-heavy deck, and certainly we know black-green do have access to a lot of land, manipulation and milling, you can get a lot of value out of this effect just by being able to play it, and that's kind of cool. It's a bit of an initial cost investment, but, even if it does get destroyed on entry, you can still at least get its effect off once. I think people are going to build around this. I think it strikes me as a lot of fun. The 3 colors is kind of tricky for me. Sometimes we're building a 3-color commander because it's like, you gotta invest so much into having the right land base and stuff, but I think it's doable, and it seems pretty fun, so I like it, and I like the uniqueness of it. The artwork is really cool. There's the basic artwork if anyone wanted to see that one. Again, I don't have a personal connection to a lot of these, so I'm just sort of reviewing them objectively, but I think they did a really good job, and based on reading some early feedback on Reddit and stuff, it seems like a lot of fans are also really happy. There's definitely going to be some people who are pissed because it's not Magic the Gathering, but if we're being honest, a lot of these cards kind of feel like they fit into the majority of what Magic the Gathering is. Not too many of them feel super out of place at all, so I would hope that maybe that'll appease some folks, but I know it won't. It's the internet. Let me know what you guys think of these reveals so far, and if you're excited for Final Fantasy, leave a comment down below, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.